Arrays are used when you want to store values that are all the same type in the elements of the array. Array variables in C have to be declared, and in the declaration you have to give the number of elements, and that remains fixed. So you set how many elements you're going to have in the array, and then you cannot change that. In C, the array indices start at 0, so they go 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. You can have either one-dimensional or two-dimensional arrays. And we use for loops to iterate through the elements in the arrays to perform the same operation on each element. A single loop if it's a one-dimensional array, nested loop if it's a two-dimensional array. So if you want to have a one-dimensional array in C, here's an example where we have an array variable that stores quiz grades. So the name of the variable is quiz, the type of each element is int, and then in square brackets, I give the size of the array. This says that quiz is an array variable that's going to store 4 integer values, in this case 4 integer quiz grades. So again, square brackets are used, the notation for the size. And since the indices start at 0, having 4 elements means that the indices are going to be 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so not up to 4 because the indices start at 0. So this is how you declare an array variable, a one-dimensional array variable. You can also initialize in the declaration by putting after the declaration the assignment operator, and then inside of curly braces the values that you want to have in the elements. So in this case I'm putting 9, 7, 8, and 10 into the 4 elements in the array. Okay, so let's see what this might look like. If we visualize this as a row, then initializing this variable quiz, so first of all the name of this variable is quiz, and I initialize the values, and these are in the 4 elements in the quiz array, 9, 7, 8, and 10, and these are the indices. So quiz sub 0 is the 9, quiz sub 1 is the 7, quiz sub 2 is the 8, quiz sub 3 is the 10. And the way you refer to each of those elements is also using square brackets. So quiz sub 0, sub short for subscript is how I'll say that, is the number 9. So you give the name of the array variable and then the index, either 0, 1, 2, or 3. So again, a size of 4 gives us indices 0, 1, 2, and 3. Quiz sub 0, quiz sub 3, etc. So in C, arrays and for loops are going to go hand in hand. In general, if we have an array variable called arrayVar, and it has n elements, then we're going to want to loop through all of the elements using a for loop in order to perform some operation on every element in the array. So my general for loop is going to look like this. For I starts at 0 because the indices start at 0, I less than n, I plus plus. So I is going to iterate through all of the subscripts or the indices in the array. And what we're doing in the action of the for loop is something with our array variable, whatever that is called, sub I. So using the loop variable I as the index into the array. So notice that it iterates through the indices from 0 through n minus 1, since the condition is I less than n and not less than or equal. So again, the indices start at 0, and we don't want to include n, because if the array has n elements, the indices go from 0 to n minus 1. So whatever it is that you want to do with an array in C, you need a for loop to do that. So again, if we have our quiz variable that we have declared and initialized, we might want to print them all. So our for loop would say I starts at 0 because the indices start at 0, I less than 4, which is the size of the array, I plus plus. And what we're going to do is take each value of each element of the array, quiz sub I, and print it out. In this case in a column format, since I'm printing the new line character. So again, anything we want to do with our array, we need to use a for loop to loop through all of the elements in the array and perform the same operation. In this case, what we're doing is printing each element. So as we go through the for loop here, we're going to print quiz sub 0, and then quiz sub 1, and then quiz sub 2, and then quiz sub 3. And then I would get the value 4 that makes this condition false. So when we get out of the loop and down here, I would have the value 4, but we've printed all of the elements 0, 1, 2, and 3. Again, we need for loops for all operations in C. Anything we want to do with an array in C, we need a for loop to accomplish it. We need to add all of the elements together, then we'd initialize the sum variable to 0, loop through all the elements, and add them all to our running sum. If we have an array variable called vec that I've declared like this, so vec is an array that has a size of 6, and each element is an integer. So if we declared it, and then we also somehow initialize that variable, and then what we wanted to do is to add 2 to every element. Well, again, we're going to loop through all of the elements of the array. I starts at 0, I less than 6, which is a size in this case, I++, and we're going to do something with each element in the vector. In this case, it's called vec. What we're doing is taking each element of the vector, vec sub I, adding 2 to that, and storing it back in vec sub I. So we're looping through all of the elements in that vector variable vec and adding 2 to each element.